Hey guys, Patrioticastacker here. Welcome to Patriotic Interviews, where I have the guest to speak to the Potter Stacker. That is our guest today. Please welcome him, and we're going to ask him a couple questions involving gold and silver and all kinds of things. Welcome, Potter Stacker.
Thanks, man. Just call me Len. My name's Len. I'm not a guy who feels like I need to totally hide my identity. I'm comfortable showing my face and people knowing me by my first name. So feel free to call me Len.
Len, my name is Chris. Nice to meet you, Len. I will call you Len from now on.
Thank you. Awesome.
What's your nationality?
I am a cisgendered white male with gray hair, a green plaid shirt, headphones, and I'm right-handed.
Oh, cool, man. Cool.
Did you see those? I was kind of spoofing those Microsoft training sessions that got put online.
Oh, yeah?
Anyhow, yeah.
So, what got you into stacking? When did you first start stacking?
I first learned about silver when I was in about 9th grade. A very good friend I'm very close with and who is still a stacker, his grandma was buying him silver, and he talked about it. He talked about how his grandma was giving him silver on his birthday and Christmas and stuff, and he wasn't complaining. He was actually really excited about it. He thought it was cool. And, being young and stupid, me and my other buddies were like, yeah, prove it. So we went to his house. We were literally playing across the street. I grew up in a small town. I graduated in a class of 42.
Oh, wow.
So, and I think I was 41st in my class. So, hey, anyhow, we went to his house and he pulled out some American Prospectors, the Engleharts.
Beautiful.
And we were all like, that's fake. That was at the time when arcades were big in malls. This was in the 80s, so it's like, oh, that's an Aladdin's Castle token. Aladdin's Castle was a big arcade in the malls. So we kind of gave him a hard time, but that was my first exposure to silver. And I started stacking initially in about 2005, maybe 2006.
Oh, wow. So you've been stacking for a long time.
Well, yes and no. That's when I got into it. At that time, I was getting silver. I think the cheapest I ever bought silver was about $6.50, and the highest was about $8.50.
That's crazy.
And I stacked pretty hard, but at the same time, I was broke. I did everything wrong you can do as a stacker.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did not have any liquidity at all. I didn't have a cash savings. I just thought this is a really good way to save money for the long term, but I didn't have a short-term mindset. So about 2 years into stacking, I had acquired maybe 250 ounces,
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Engleharts. At that time, Engleharts were just generic junk rounds. They weren't the collectibles they are now. And I remember complaining about $85 10-ounce bars. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, if only I could go back. But
only
anyhow.
if you knew, right?
Right.
If you knew.
So what happened is the day after Christmas, our furnace went out. And I live in Wisconsin. So, no furnace in Wisconsin in December, big problems.
Yep.
And so because even though it was the day after Christmas, I still had to pay holiday rates. So we were very thankful to have the silver because I had to sell every ounce of it to pay for that furnace. Now, the good thing is, and this is kind of why my wife approves of stacking, is because she wasn't totally on board with it before. She kind of thought it was stupid.
Yeah.
And I put an ad on Craigslist in the morning, and 10 minutes before the installers walked in to do the furnace, I sold every ounce of silver I had to one guy off of Craigslist. And I sold it for Well, I mean, even at that time, you go to the LCS and you never paid more than 50 cents or $1 over spot for generic rounds. So I think I sold it for spot. I think I sold it right at spot because I needed the money. Like it's gotta go.
You were in a desperate situation.
Yep. So a guy came, he paid every cent of it. And I think by the time I sold it, I was in the high 8s or low 9s in terms of what spot was. So, I came out ahead as far as it goes. I was very fortunate, that short-term thinking didn't bite me and spot didn't drop $1 or $2, which in my financial position at the time would have been pretty devastating. So we bought a house that was plagued with problems, and we were financially strapped, and we actually lost our house in the financial collapse.
Up in 08.
Yeah. So we recovered from that. And we completely cleared out all of our debt in 2018. We became totally debt free. And I started buying silver again in summer of 2019 is when I went back and I went to Atmex and I bought 2 tubes of silver buffalo rounds. And at the time, spot was at like 17.21. I remember looking at the invoice thinking, I cannot believe I'm paying $17 for silver. I thought it was crazy. But at the same time, part of it was I didn't like spending the money. But the other part was looking back at the money that I lost because I had to sell out my stack, because if I had just been a little bit more responsible and maybe just spent half as much on silver and kept some cash, the dry powder off to the side, maybe I could have borrowed, $1,000 from my folks or something and covered the rest.
Absolutely.
And not had to give up all my silver. But as it was, I had to give up all my silver. And so I started over again in 2019. And that's how long it just took us to financially recover.
But isn't that a great feeling to get out of debt and just it's an outstanding feeling, right?
Dude, forget about it. Like I lost my job last year. I was unemployed. And now this time when I started stacking again, we're debt free. And I had about 6 months of expenses saved up. And I was making very good money at the time. And so like losing my job, and I was making almost 6 figures. We didn't have to dip into the silver at all. And thankfully I was reemployed within I got 2 unemployment checks before I got another job, which I'm very lucky. In Wisconsin, average unemployment is, I think last I looked, was 12 or 14 weeks. So I was very, very lucky to and blessed to find a new job right away, to not have to dip into my stack and sell again, because I kind of saw this downward spiral of here we go again. But at least now I had the buffer. By the time I lost my job, I had about 9 or 10 months of expenses in cash saved, plus, the silver and gold that I had started to stack again. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very much a fan of doing this the right way. And that's why I wanted to start talking about it on YouTube, because I'm a big fan of being debt free and having financial independence, being out of the system.
Absolutely.
And I think, and there isn't a stacker in the world that'll disagree with me that this is the way to do it, but it can be done wrong. It can be done wrong.
And I'm just with you. I'm with you on that one. What was your name again? What was
Len.
it? Len. Sorry, Len. I agree with you 100%, Len. I tell everyone, and I've mentioned it in my videos, I said, make sure before you stack gold and silver that you have 3 to 6 months emergency funds, that your credit card debt is paid. Your mortgage is understandable. We all take time to pay mortgage, but your credit cards, high interest, pay them off, pay everything off, have no debt. Make sure your bills are paid on time, your family's fed before you stack gold and silver. And also, You also got to stack other things. Make sure you have food in your house, emergency foods. Be prepared. Especially in this time. There's a lot of people, that I've seen sell their stacks. I've people on YouTube that I've seen do auctions just to get some money, so they were selling their stacks. You know,
Yeah.
you don't. That's long term for you. Gold and silver is long term. That's supposed to be another retirement account, a savings account that actually protects your money versus, so you need to have emergency funds at least 3 months to 6 months bare minimum. If you lose whatever your expenses are for those months, if you lose your job, you have something to cover. Like, you made the mistake in the beginning, but look, now when you lost your
Right.
job, you had 10 months to cost until you found a job, and you found a better job.
Right. And
People
I
just got to
think,
play it smart.
and I think that fate favors the prepared. So we were prepared this time for an emergency, hence having an emergency fund, right? We were
Yep.
prepared for it. Before, we weren't. And really, at that time, the furnace was, when I think back on it, I don't know if it was even $2,000.
Yeah.
It might have been like 24 or 2,500 bucks. I remember I had right in the neighborhood of 200 or 250 ounces of silver, and I covered it maybe a tank or two of gas with what I sold. So anyhow, when you're prepared, things just tend to kind of go your way.
Absolutely.
Things that you worry about tend not to come to fruition. So yeah, and I'm a big fan. I'm not a prepper. I think more along the lines of preparedness. You're a Christian, right? Look to the ant, you sluggard, and be wise. That's
absolutely.
what is that? Is that Psalm or Proverbs 7? I don't remember. It's one of those two. But God is saying that we should be like ants, how they toil day and night, preparing for a later event where there's going to be scarcity.
Absolutely.
And that's what I believe preparedness is. It's just being ready for a time when there's scarcity, whether it's scarcity in my gas tank, and I run out of gas and have to walk. So I carry a gas can in my boots in the trunk of my car in case I have to walk for gas, or preparedness in terms of a financial collapse.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things that are out of our control. Like, look what's going on now. These are the things that are going on now. Supply shortages, overpriced food, overpriced gas and oils, and your kilowatts on your electric bills going up. These are things that are out of our hand. And if you're prepared and you're debt free and you do the right thing, then you don't have to worry as much as most people are. Yes, it's still stressful. Yes, we're all having a hard time. But if you're prepared and you play your cards right, you wouldn't be in a situation where most people are in right now.
Right. The difficulty comes in fighting the conditioning that we've been given since we were children by this system that encourages debt, that encourages hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck living.
Absolutely.
And educating ourselves to the degree where we can not just fight off that conditioning, but beat it. And I get it. There's people who are like naturally savers. My youngest son is naturally a saver. My daughter, she likes to go and buy things now she saves her money. I mean, she's not irresponsible, but she's a little bit more impulsive, and that's fine. I'm a big believer in balance, and I believe that she has time to learn things, so absolutely. I'm not going to rule over her with an iron fist, but I want to guide her in that, like this is just the way society sculpts our minds, is to think into student debt. Well, that's really smart debt. That's good debt. I mean, and we're taught to look at debt in terms of good and bad debt. The borrower is slave to the lender. I'm not a big fan of slavery. I'm not a big fan of theft, and therefore I don't like taxes. So, we have to fight our conditioning to consume, right? I mean, I love. I'm sure you've seen the movie Fight Club, right?
Yes, it's been a while, but I believe so.
there's a speech that Tyler Durden is giving in the basement of, what is it? Is it Joe's bar, where they're fighting in the basement? And he says, he says this line. He says, advertising has us convinced to spend money we don't have on things we don't need. And that movie came out in '99. That's a 23-year-old movie now.
Absolutely.
And
Very
it's
true.
it's as true then. It's as true now as it was then.
Absolutely.
And so to kind of bring this full circle, like, in a sense, I am a consumer because I love this stuff.
Absolutely.
You love it. Every stacker in the world loves it. So in a sense, we're consuming, but at the same time, we're just exchanging currency for money. You know, so I can still be a consumer, and yet I am saving. It's kind of the beauty of stacking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a big thing that you know, I got a lot of friends that are just don't understand it. And they say to me all the time, if gold and silver is so good, why can you take your $100 paper or say $2,000 in paper and bring it to your LCS and buy an ounce of gold? It's a big question I get all the time. You know what I mean? Why are they selling it? Why isn't the government keeping it?
They are.
And I'm like, listen, I tell them all the time. I said, Walmart sells food and you need it, right? I said, well, why is the government keeping that? You need food more than anything else. You know what I mean? Why is gun stores selling guns? Why is cars selling cars? Why aren't they keeping it all? You know, it's the same concept in gold and silver. You know what I mean? They're making some money, but you know, it's in the long term. You know, it's all, you know, the value holds. Yeah, it might drop $10, it might drop $2, it might drop 50 cents, it might go up, you know, but it's always going to go up, and it always protects your money. And it's better than leaving your money in a savings account or in your safe where it's just losing.
Yeah, and I had that conversation with my daughter this morning, and I always use, I don't have a 5-ounce bar in front of me, but I always use the example of the 5-ounce bar. In my family, we spend about $100 to $130 a week in groceries. So a 5-ounce bar of silver is a week of groceries. Forever.
Yeah.
It was a week's worth of groceries 20 years ago, when, you know, it was $70 or $80 for, well, you know, that 5-ounce bar. You know, that's about what we would have paid for groceries then. And in the future, if silver goes to, let's say it goes to $40 an ounce, so that would be $200. Well, logically, inflation will probably be met with that, right? I mean, silver, like every asset class, moves with the markets, moves with the rate of inflation. So rather than keep that $130 in my safe, where in 5 years it's not going to buy $130 worth of goods.
Absolutely.
Right? It just makes sense to keep that silver in the safe.
Yeah, and also, you know, the 1964 quarter. A lot of people use that. A 1964 quarter in 1964 would buy you a gallon of gas, a little over.
Yeah, you bet.
Now that same 1964 quarter can buy you almost 2 gallons of gas, a little over a gallon of gas.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So you know, it's smart. But you take that 24 cents in 1964 today, 25 cents today, you ain't buying no gallon of gas.
You're not.
You are nowhere's close. You know what I mean? And it's, you know, people just, you know, gotta understand. And you know, gold and silver is a conservative. It's a conservative savings. You know, it can be an investment, but it's conservative savings. It's like your retirement account or a better savings account. You know what I mean? This is not an investment that I recommend everyone to invest in. You know, there's other things out there. If you want to make money, invest in real estate. You know, have stock, invest in stocks and stuff. This is a conservative savings account that saves your money, preserves your money, and it could be an investment down the road. That's what I tell everybody.
Well, you know, even think of the short term. So let me just show you. I have a gold buffalo here, 2021.
Oh, I love buffaloes.
I know, I do too. And I did what at the time I thought was really dumb, but I just wanted this so bad. I traded 70 ounces of silver for it.
Uh-huh.
And that was last spring. Now, the GSR is currently at 80 to 1. So I could literally, in less than a year, go and turn this around and get basically all my 70 ounces back plus this.
10. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so even in the short term, there's gains to be made, but we, you know, here's the thing, man. In my channel, what I focus on is the narratives of silver and gold stacking that I believe are damaging and spread by really well-meaning stackers who are really good people and just, I think, are using outdated arguments in favor of silver, right? Like, you know, one of the things that you see on Reddit, I don't know if you go on the Wall Street Silver page.
No,
ever.
I really don't. I really don't watch.
You're missing out.
But I should.
You're missing out, man. It's the Wall Street Silver on Reddit. It's an embarrassment of riches. I'm telling you, it's something.
Send me that in the email after.
I will.
So I
will
look that up. I'm a sponge man. I like to look up things and find sites and read up. You know, so yeah, definitely email me that. That's sounds to be interesting.
So one of the things that they talk about is how come silver is stagnant and with all of this inflation going on. And one thing that it's funny how stackers, like big stacking channels, understand the correlation to silver and inflation, and they recognize the correlation to the printing of dollars and inflation, and yet they don't understand the correlation to the forex and the dollar strength relative to other currencies. You know, I mean, how many stacking channels made videos, what was it, a week and a half ago, when gold spiked up to like in the 1830s? Did it get up to?
Yeah, I believe it was 18. I think it was almost at 1840.
Yeah, and what did silver go up to?
23, almost
24, almost 24, right?
Yeah.
And how many videos did you see? Like, oh, we're going to the moon. You know, here we go. And a week later,
I knew it wasn't going to hit. I knew it wasn't going to hit. You know, we might see gold at 2,000 this year, but they were acting like every time it moves, even $1, 50 cents. It's going. Well, you know,
I gotta tell you, I disagree. I think silver's going down to 1650. Or I think gold. I think gold is going down to 1650.
You think gold's going to hit 16? It's going to go down.
I do, because when you look at what's the correlation in the markets, the correlation between, you know, the foreign exchange markets, the you know, all of the different things. I know I'm listen, I'm not a financial advisor, right? So do your own research.
Yeah.
But you know, look, why did silver and gold come down? Because the dollar, although printed to oblivion especially in the last 2 years, relative to other world currencies, is strong. And dollar strength means metal weakness. Always does. You know, it doesn't matter what. Absolutely. I mean, the things that we're seeing now in the stock market, it's weird. You can almost throw out the rules. And this is where I could be proven wrong, because usually when bonds are high, stocks are low. Stocks are high, you know, vice versa. You know, and now it's like everything's high. Cryptos are high. Stocks are high. Bonds are high. The dollar is showing strength. What's going on here? What the heck is happening? So it's hard to predict when things that have never happened before are happening in the markets. And yet, as long as the perception and that's what we're talking about. Perception in the world is that the dollar is strong, even if, you know, it's the prettiest pig in the herd, right? They're all pigs. Mm-hmm. They're all covered in mud and filth, but the dollar is the cleanest, prettiest pig. Well, that's not good for metals.
No,
and when markets crash, you look at charts of every market crash in the 80s, you know, the dot-com crash in 2000, the 2008 market crash, the metals crashed with the rest of the markets. Now, they hit a trampoline on the way down and bounced way up, but in the short term, these things are crashed. So in some sense, this year, I know I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth, but let me just bring this all full circle here. If the markets remain strong enough that the dollar is perceived as strong, there's no reason for metals to move up. And if markets crash, the metals are going to go with them. No, really? Not initially. Not initially. There's a lag. There's a lag. Just lay a chart. Just pull up a 20-year chart. Go from 2000 to 2022, and just look at gold and silver charts and look what happened in 2008.
So it went down and then it
dropped. It dropped dramatically before it popped back up. Yeah. And that lag, you know, could be a short lag. It could be a long one. So
what you think's going to happen? You think it's going to drop down to about 1500 this year?
1650, I think, is where
1650, and then you think it's going to, and then you think it's going to jump from 1650 to 2000.
It could, yeah, it could. But
I can see, I can honestly see that. No one's ever put it to me that way, and now thinking I could definitely see that, because no matter how our economy is going and how everything is going, this country is still. I put it this way: if America sneezes, the whole world catches a cold.
You got it.
We're the ultimate country. We're the superpower. We are the country that everyone looks up to. We are the country that everyone wants to be on sides with. We are the greatest country in the world, no matter what people think. And with the no matter what, they're going to look at our dollar and as like king. So it's going to be hard to exactly. Plummet it enough. It's got to really hit rock bottom.
Cleanest pig in the pig pen. But, where we should find comfort as stackers is that the metals seem to have found, you see a lot of horizontal movement in the $21 to $23 range in silver, right? And you see a lot of horizontal movement from like 1750 to 1810 in gold for the last several months. So we seem to have found a lot of stability, and I think that's great. I think that price, is
like 18, high 17s, 18. It's staying there,
right? Because look, when metals shot up a couple of weeks ago, when they crashed, they came right back down to their level of stability.
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
So
we have a question for you right here. Weed Stacker, is it a good idea to trade your silver for gold?
It's a totally personal decision. I'll tell you, there's a lot of talk about the gold silver ratio and playing that ratio. I just really wanted this buffalo. I've always wanted a gold buffalo.
I love it.
And when the guy told me he had them in, he was gracious enough. He was going to let me put it on layaway for a month and make payments on it. And I'm like, well, how many generic rounds can I bring in to trade for it? And this was at the time when silver rounds were not super common. So he was happy to take 70. And, I think at that time the GSR was around 68 or 68 and a half. So he got a little premium out of it,
Yep.
So if you go to a coin shop to trade silver for gold, they're going to give you wholesale for your gold, and you're going to be trading at retail. So don't go in thinking you're going to get that exact ratio. Well, if I take in one piece of gold, I'm getting 80 pieces of silver.
A lot of guys, they want a premium. You don't expect exactly this. Oh, I got 70. The gold ratio is 70. I got 70 ounces for your 1 ounce gold. No, if you can't bring in your generic rounds and go to
Right.
expect you're going to get a St. Gaudens for the same price of
Right.
you're going to pay that St. Gaudens is $2,100. They're going to
Right.
want $2,100 over $2,100 in silver. You know what I mean?
Or an
Or
Eagle, or
yeah,
a
Eagle,
Krugerrand.
Buffalo, Krugerrand, Maple Leaf.
And
Absolutely.
you
Luckily,
might.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say you might be able to do it with a generic 1 ounce bar, like a
Yeah,
PAMP bar
yeah,
or something like
absolutely.
that. But
or if you build a relationship with your LCS, you build a relationship with him, and he's really cool with you, then you might be able to do an even trade. Like my LCS, he'll let me do that as long as I'm not bringing him in coals or things that are going to be hard to sell. Right now, generic rounds are hot, so if I bring him in 80 or 70 buffalo gold silver buffaloes, he will gladly trade me an ounce of gold, because he can sell them for, what are they going for, 5 over spot now in LCSs?
Well, he might move 80 ounces of silver in 2 days.
Oh yeah,
An
they're
ounce
wholesale,
of gold, an ounce of gold could sit in their case a while.
Yeah, because especially now,
and
a lot of people don't have the money.
Meanwhile, the spot price of gold could drop. It's what, at 1808 or something like that today. It could drop down to 1770 tomorrow, and all of a sudden now he's upside down, or at least losing his profit in it. So for the dealer, there's a lot less risk trading you bringing your silver for their gold versus the other way around. You're probably going to get a more favorable deal bringing your silver in and to trade it for gold than the other way around.
Yeah, absolutely. Gorio Echo said gold and silver will always follow the market down and Fed rates up.
Amen. Hallelujah. There's a man who at least has a cursory understanding of technical analysis. And that's something that is sorely lacking in this community. There is a real lack of technical analysis by YouTube channels that have between 10 to 30,000 subscribers. And, at some point they just kind of become pumpers. There's a lot of big pumping channels out there. They
start doing it for the money.
Oh yeah.
Comes down to that. That's what it comes down to. A lot of these guys were big in the community and would show support to small channels, and actually, and I'm not going to say no names, I'm not going to do that, but they were showing some support to channels and doing shout outs, but then they became more money, and they're doing everything they're doing now is pumping out mining companies. They're pumping out anything that could line their pockets. Listen, we're in a capitalist country. We love capital. We all like to make money. I love making money. Call me a greedy fuck, but when it comes to, you can't forget where you come from. You know what I mean? You got to show the support. You got to spread the good information, because there's people, if you have that following, people are looking up to you. People want to hear you every day. That's why you have your following. That's why you have 90,000, 100 to 200,000 subs. You got to give, people are getting information from you. So you got to give the right stuff. You can't sit there and the one video, someone was saying this silver you need to buy now. And it was Kohl's. ASE, Kohl's. And
I saw that video. I know, yes.
They still go for $32 an ounce. You might as well spend an extra $2 to get an ounce of American Silver Eagle ounce. Yeah. At that point.
I know who you're talking about. That's stacking his channel name's way. And if you stack his way, you will be, a fool and his money are soon parted. There are some bigger channels that do a great job. Silver Seeker, for example, like when he calls LCSs, I think he put out a video yesterday.
I love those.
And the LCS is telling you what they pay for Eagles, what they pay for generic rounds. That video alone should teach you look, if you want to stack Eagles, stack them to the moon, whatever. I really don't care. But to say that's the way to do it because of this or that tax implication, or look, I wish I had bought American Silver Eagles when they were $1 over spot. I wish I had 2 monster boxes, right? Because, that would have been the time to go and trade that for this, because that's where you would get a really favorable trade. Just because of the premium difference. Instead of trading 70, I might have only had to trade 60 to 62 you know?
Absolutely.
But
And I'm not sitting here calling out anybody. Everyone has great channels. They put out some great videos. Some guys, they have good videos, bad videos, good advice, bad advice. Everyone does. We all make mistakes. We all put out bad videos. But there's some of them out there that should not have been published. There's videos out there, especially when you have that following and you're putting out those, you know what I mean? How are you going to stack that silver for when you, first of all, stackers want to get silver for cheap. And and if you're going to say buy these coals, the coals go for $33 an ounce. Those, because they have high premiums, but it's practically around at that point when you can
right.
just spend the extra $2 an ounce and buy a BU.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I don't think these are bad people. I don't think these
No,
are people who have
absolutely
bad
not.
intentions. I don't
No.
think that these are people who are trying to screw anybody over. I think that that particular stacker, he has a method that works for him, and that's great. Doesn't mean it's to be emulated. But we all say at the I don't, because it's become this pedantic, nonsensical thing to say, I am not a financial advisor. Do your own research. I don't say that in any of my videos.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll come right out and say, you know what, this is financial advice, and you should follow it. But we say that. We're not financial advisors, and yet we're making videos directly related to people's personal financing. When you decide to stack silver and gold, platinum, palladium, copper, whatever, you are making a financial decision for your family that cannot be taken lightly. And so when you bring a miner, when you come and you're shilling miners on your channel, mining stocks have zero to do with stacking.
Nope.
Zero.
It's all paper.
And if you buy mining stocks, you will be as broke as the idiots who run the mining companies.
And
you will be as broke as they are.
I've said there's so many better things that's not investing. If you don't own gold or silver, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. If you want to invest and make quick money or go to real investing, I'm a realtor too. I sell houses.
Oh, good for you.
Go into go into real estate. Buy land.
Yeah.
Go to your financial advisor, Raymond James, or whoever you go through. Get a couple retirement accounts, Roth IRA, traditional IRAs. Get some bonds. Get a investing account. There's so many ways. Those gold mining companies, they're just trying to scam you for your money.
And look at their charts. The charts don't lie.
Nope.
They are garbage. 19 years out of 20. They are garbage. They are the clock that's right once a day.
Put it this way. Why are they going around YouTube asking people to put out videos for them?
Because they're trying to develop capital. Yeah. They're trying to build capital so that they can suck in bigger investors.
You don't see Berkshire Hathaway doing that. You don't see Tesla doing that, do you?
No.
Let me say hi to a couple people in the chat here. Bullion Baby. What's up? What's up, Skull Stacks? Silver Scorpion, Plumber Stacker, Weed Stacker. What's up, guys? Thank you for joining. Gorio Echo. Thank you guys for joining. Southern Stacker, Polybuck. I get distracted, so I can't really read the messages while I'm talking, you know what I mean? So I don't want to be rude. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy. But I see that mining company, it's getting so old. I'm seeing it every freaking video. And, and that's what I've been following these guys and watching a lot of these guys for a long time. And I love watching their videos. But now it's like every video they post is mining or it's this and that, and it's like, come on, put out some real information. Put out things people want to hear.
I have unsubscribed from no less than a dozen YouTube channels, all for the singular sin of pumping miners. I mean, if you're going to shill, I have no time for you. And honestly, what I have found in the last, 3 or 4 months is channels like yours, smaller channels, and I'm not a big stacking channel. I know I'm approaching 2,500 subscribers.
Congratulations.
My channel started as a reselling channel back in like 2014. I was reselling on eBay. So if you go into my deep content, you'll still see some of my eBay videos. And my most popular video is I do an instructional on how to transform the G1 Megatron. So, so that's on my channel the most popular video. So this is a repurposed YouTube channel.
Hey,
okay,
it's
so
awesome, man.
so while I have the numbers, I only did that so I could live stream once in a while. I didn't want to start from scratch and have to wait to get to 1,000.
Absolutely.
So because I have 4 other YouTube channels, by the way. So
I have to sub to them.
So anyhow, I think that what I am finding is smaller channels like yours, Patrioticastacker. I just got actually turned on to Skull Stacks like yesterday.
Awesome. Yeah,
Chris in SoCal. It's gonna kill me.
Fish.
I haven't looked at his channel yet.
Triple P.
No.
I try
every time I see like names in chat, I try to click on them and go see what they got going on.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I've been an anti-Morgan dollar guy until I started watching the Numismatic Stacker.
Okay.
And he talks a lot about Morgans, and he shows varieties that he goes to antique malls and finds what look like a common Morgan dollar that he's like, I paid $80 for this, but look at, and he'll show like the gray book and eBay pricing and how they're selling for 3 to 4 times more. So it's like,
absolutely.
Maybe, I've always looked at Morgan dollars as junk silver. And in fact, I think I made a video about that.
I seen that video. I see you're not a big fan of junk silver.
Well, I am a fan of junk silver. I'm just not a fan of the pricing of it. And I utterly reject the notion that junk silver will ever be used for barter. I think that is another really bad narrative in the stacking community that just needs to die a quick, painless death, because we are never, ever, 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 hear me now, we will never trade this. Well, here's a Canadian $0.50, 0.3 ounces of silver. I will never trade this for anything, nor do I want to. And the reason I say that is because of history. Historically, when in SHTF scenarios, and it's interesting because we always think of an SHTF scenario as an economic collapse of some kind, right? Like the dollar is going to go, it'll no longer be the world reserve currency, and there's going to be a currency crisis and a currency collapse, and we're going to need silver and gold to get out of it. Well, what's more likely is that your SHTF scenario is going to be a tornado hit your trailer park and strewn your gold and silver all across the prairie.
Absolutely.
That's a far more likely SHTF scenario for most people. Hurricanes, floods, blizzards, things that are okay. You can't get to the store for a week because of XYZ scenario with the weather, if you live in the mountains, that's a very real thing. Nobody's going to care about the silver, of course, in that SHTF scenario. You better have a full pantry.
Absolutely.
So when I talk about preparedness, that's the kind of thing that I want people to be more interested in. But to stack the constitutional silver thinking that, everyone's going to know what a mercury dime is. No, they're not. And they're going to be hungry. They're not going to want.
And that's that's my thing. I look at it this way: a fractional, because I'm a stacker for. I stack for savings. I stack for prepping. I stack to hedge. I stack for insurance. I stack for retirement. So I stack pretty much for all the reason. I'm not just a prepper stacker. I'm not just a saver stacker. I stack for all reasons. And the reason why I stack, I put out a video. I'm sure you've seen. I think you comment on it about a fractional gold and silver. Why you should stack it.
Yes.
And I think, and then you said I'll mention it if we have this interview. I'd like to go down this route with you, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I feel that if the dollar fails, not like a full blown a shit hits the fan situation where people are fucking shooting each other for that last dare in the woods, or people are busting down doors. I'm talking about like if the dollar fails, or like Venezuela, for example, we could probably trade that way. But at the end of the video, I said, now if we go into a full situation where everything's fucked, then we have to, people don't want that stuff. They want food, they want bullets, they want guns, they want gas, they want generators, they want a roof, they want tents, they want knives, first aid kits, medicines, alcohol. They're not going to want your gold, your silver, your paper. They're not going to want your fucking, Versace shirt. They want things that can keep them alive.
Yeah, people want security. People want safety. And if you haven't learned that in the last 2 years, you're not paying attention. A lot of bad decisions have been made in the name of security. And I think that people see their gold and silver as a false sense of security for those situations. I did an interview with Star Path Academy before his channel blew up. I saw his video on living. I don't know if you're familiar with Star Path Academy, but
no, I'm not.
He lived through hyperinflation in Romania in the 90s.
Oh wow.
And he's made his channel's utterly blown up. When I talked to him, he had 240 subscribers. 2 days later, when I was interviewing him on my channel, he had, I think, 6,000 subscribers. Those videos just blew up. He did a 3-part series on what it was like to live through hyperinflation. And we talked about silver and gold. You can go watch the interview on my channel. And he talked about what silver and gold, you have to compare it with the value of other assets.
Absolutely.
Land. What is the gold to land ratio? What is the gold to house ratio? The real estate, things like, that's what he was talking about. Like, because there was no utility for that. When he talked about hyperinflation, he talked about having skills, having relationships, and having food. Those are the big things, but the big things he said was if you're an auto mechanic, if you're a plumber, if you're
absolutely
whatever, a carpenter, whatever, that's how you're going to eat, and you have to share those skills with your neighbors and the people you have relationships with. And we're in a dangerous spot, and at least in many parts of the country, people don't even know who their neighbors are anymore.
No. Look at our generation. I'm part of the young generation. I'm only 26 years old, believe it or not. And luckily, I was taught by my father and my family, how to live off the land, and how to save and be successful and do the right things. And and these kids nowadays, my friends, people that I know, just they don't want to work. And when they start working, they want to make $1 million right away. They think they can retire at 30. They don't know how to fucking wash their clothes. They don't know how to boil a fucking egg. They don't know how to, wake up in the morning. It's the generation is just, it's terrible, and it's sad. And, we're supposed to better our generation for the future. They're supposed to be, the next of kin, they're, and you're looking at it and how the world is and how the people are nowadays, and it's just, we're just plainly screwed. We're screwed unless there's changes met now and we start teaching people. And that's another reason why I got on YouTube. I'm not the smartest guy. I don't know everything. I'm not an expert, but I'm going to give you things that work for me. You can follow them, you can leave them behind, whatever you want to do. But listen, I'm 26 years old, and I got 2 years left to pay off my mortgage.
Good for you.
And
good for you, dude.
You know what I mean? And I am a business owner, and I'm not bragging. I'm not bragging. This took me a long time to do, and my I owe it to my family, because they taught me. Without them, I wouldn't be here and where I am in this spot today. And it's sad, and my goal is to teach my kids to be able to do the same thing, and,
right.
And I think that's our goal for all our kids. We want to, we want to teach the next generation to fucking do the right thing.
Yeah, I hear you. And so let's talk. I agree with you in principle about the importance. I have my fractional gold out,
Yeah.
right? So I'm a big fan of fractional. I'm a big fan of junk silver. I'm a big fan of Canadian junk silver because of the lower premiums.
Yeah.
So
It's only 10% lower in purity. So it's not bad.
And Canadian junk silver is 80%. It's
80%,
not 90%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, 80%.
So it's like this half dollar is 0.3 of an ounce, 0.3 ounces of silver. So let's just go to what seems to be every stacker's wet dream is $100 silver. Let's say that happens. Well, for one thing,
we'd be screwed.
We're screwed, and I'm selling.
Yeah.
But okay, what's going to be easier for me to sell? This for $3,000 or this for $30?
That right there.
This has such a low barrier of entry for people who are new to stacking, for people, because there's going to be a FOMO, right? Just like there was with the stupid Wall Street silver squeeze thing. When silver was upwards of $28, $29 an ounce. I mean, people are generally, when it comes to investing, very stupid. You see people buying at the highs and selling at the lows. Very common.
It's been like that forever.
Because the number one driver of every market is psychology. It's not fundamentals. It's psychology.
Yeah.
So if silver starts to make a run up toward the 100 and it actually gets there, people who have never stacked before and are maybe a little skeptical and they want the low barrier of entry, this is going to be tough to sell. People will probably dig it and like it, but gosh, I don't know if I want to do if it's $100 on it, this will be $1,000. I don't know if I want to put $1,000 out, but can you do $30 for this? Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still a lot of money, but $30 in that scenario, maybe it'll be a lot of money actually, but and it's the same thing with gold, by the way. If gold goes to 5,000 or 10,000, like, some of the pumpers and shills want to make us believe it's going to do in the very short term, well, then this American Gold Eagle is going to be kind of tough to sell to someone who doesn't have $10,000. But, maybe you've got 1,000 and now you've got a couple of options. You can have this bar, or you can have this gold round, So I believe that for me, a 10 ounces is the biggest denomination of silver I'll ever buy. I love
the same
kilos. I love kilos. I love the weight of 100-ounce bar. I love it.
Harder to sell.
But if I'm going to put out that kind of money, if I got $800 for a kilo, I'm getting gold. Yeah, I'm getting once I get past that 10-ounce range, if I got that kind of money, I'm just going into gold, and I'm probably going to do some fractional, so
I like to mix it up. I love my 1 ounce gold. I try to stick to my 1 ounces of gold because, I'm a stacker. I like to get it as cheap as I can, but I love fractional and I buy fractional a lot too. And, I think the reason why fractional sells so much today, a lot of people buy fractional, like, I forgot what channel it was, but the number one seller was a 1/10 ounce.
Yeah.
That sold more than your second place was in a 1 ouncer. And then it was your 1/4 ounce and then 1/2 ounce. And it's because it's more affordable. A lot of people don't have $2,000 and it's $1,830, but with the premiums, and if you're ordering online with the fees, you're spending upwards of $2,000.
Right.
People don't have that right now to drop. And you got to be in the game somehow. So you buy the 1/10. Yeah, it's expensive. You're paying a higher premium, but at the same time, you're still in the game. You can also sell that 1/10 ounce and get some money back. It's a good secondary market for those two. They're easy to sell. I just sold a bunch of them. I sold Libertads.
Really?
And
nice.
They sold out quick. You know what I mean? And it's just, I recommend it. Fractional is great. 90% is great. But same thing with the 10 ounces. I love 10-ounce bars. And that's my go-to when it comes to stacking silver. I love 10 ounces. I like my 100 ounces and kilos and stuff, but I don't buy as much because, one, they're harder to sell.
Yep.
Two, a lot of times you bring in a 100-ounce bar into the LCS, they want to drill into it.
Yeah.
And if you have a brand new Engelhardt and the cover, and they're going to drill into that, come on, you know what I mean? And you have it takes up so much space, you know what I mean? A lot of space, and you try, to walk out to sell it or something with that giant hunk of silver in your hand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, people also have to keep that in mind when it comes to not only buying the silver and storing it, but selling it, reselling it, and getting it off your hands. And it's
100%.
not easy. LCSs rather have you walk in with 100 Buffaloes or 100 Engelhardt Prospectors or 100 American Silver Eagles than 100-ounce bar, because first of all, they can make more money selling those individual rounds, and it can sell out in a day or two versus a 100-ounce bar. A lot of people shy away from that because it's, like I said, it's hard to store, it's hard to resell.
Yep.
And not only that, you have to give, depending on the bar, anywhere from $2,800 to $3,000.
Yeah, I would love, I love 100-ounce bars. I would love to get my hands on a Comex bar. In fact, seems like a year ago, somebody was cutting up Comex bars, cutting them like a loaf of bread, stamping the weight and selling them. I mean, they were getting ridiculous premiums for these. And they were just random weights, 14.27 ounces some were 33 point some ounce, but it was cool. I think the guy had either a water jet or a plasma cutter that he was cutting them with. And then he was selling the shavings, it was like Comex, having a chunk of the Comex bar. I think that's cool. But at the same time, that's, the whole point of a Comex bar is to not have the premium that goes with owning silver. So to have a chunk of it, it's just kind of cool, but it's not necessarily smart. And that's kind of how I feel about like 100-ounce bars. They're very cool. I just don't know if they're very smart, at least for me.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to get to a point eventually where I will stop stacking. I see I see some of these channels that do their full stack video, and they've got so much silver and gold, and it's amazing to look at. Like, whoa, was it International Stacker? Who did the big, it was like 6,000 ounces, and it was all laid out on a giant table in giant piles. And I'm like, that is so cool and so amazing and so impractical. So, but hey, if to each his own, if you've got.
I can't hear you, man. I think I lost you. The audio.
Is it my audio or on your end?
I think it's on my end. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna end the stream and I'm gonna rejoin you.
Okay. While you're doing that, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick.
Is that okay? All right.